you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the Township of Springfield Board of Adjustment meeting for September 17th, 2024. The time is 6:03. Notice has been given in accordance with the Sunshine Law. Notice was published on December 13th in the Star Ledger, one of the official newspapers for the Township of Springfield, for the year 2023, and posted in the Annex Building on December 14th, 2023. I believe notice is also on the Springfield website. Can we please stand to salute the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We will have roll call, please.
Madam Chair, I just want to bring it to your attention that we have a new member. His name is Peter Schewitz. Is that how you pronounce your last name? So welcome.
Welcome, Peter. Thank you for joining us, and for volunteering with us.
Okay. Mr. Stephen Hochstein? Here. Mr. Michael Weinstein? Mr. Stephen Furstenbaum? Present. Ms. Marla Naparano? Mr. Peter
Schewitz, here.
Schewitz? Ms. Anika Dotson? Vice Chair Mark Cunningham?
Here.
And Chairwoman Jody Cohen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, first order of business are resolutions for memorialization. First resolution that is up for approval is application 2024-13 for Shadow Lawn Drive, Block 2003, Lot 4, lot coverage variance. Has every member of the board had an opportunity to review the resolution? Are there any questions or comments at this time? I have not read the resolutions. Okay, you will abstain. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from any of the members of the board? If none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
And Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next resolution on this evening for memorialization is application 2024-15, 24 Gregory Road, Block 3512, Lot 6, a request for front yard and side yard variances for generator and shed. Has every member had an opportunity to review the resolution? Are there any questions or comments? If none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
And Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our applications this evening. The first application that I'm going to call this evening is application 2024-18, 145 Short Hills Avenue, Block 608, Lot 10. This is a request for a front yard variance relief for an AC condenser. Is the applicant here? Come on up to the podium. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you tonight?
Good, thank you. We're going to swear you in.
Okay,
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your home address.
David Geisler, Geissler, 145 Short Hills Avenue.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Geisler. Do you have any other witnesses with you this evening?
I do not.
Just you. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what your request is and your reasons for that request?
Absolutely. I was granted a variance in May to put an addition on my house, but I did not explicitly mention the AC condenser in that request. So when my contractor tried to get a permit for the ductwork, and also I was told that I'm in violation of my variance, and it wasn't covered under the wording we used for the addition. So I'm here to ask you one more time for permission to put an AC condenser in my side yard, which violates the front yard setback distance.
Okay, so clarification. The addition was approved, welcome back.
Yes.
And the existing is 14 and the condenser will be placed within, there's no extension, right? There's nothing that's being asked.
It's a little bit forward of the 14,
Okay,
and it's in the front yard, so that's why the variance.
okay, so I'm sorry, because I'm looking at your chart here and it says that the variance that's requested is for the left side yard, so now let me see what I'm looking at.
It's a corner lot, though, so it has 2 front yards.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions from the members of the board?
I have a question. Are you going to do any screening in front of it, like some kind of shrubs or a little fence or
I
something?
plan to plant some more shrubs in front of it.
So you can conceal it so it's not visible from the street? That's my only question.
Any other questions? Sure.
Just trying to figure out how to get,
Well,
just,
Oh, there we
It's
go.
on,
it's
the light's on.
Okay,
Now
we're
he's-
good.
Now he's connected.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, I will open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public that have any questions on this application? None. Excellent. I will open up I'll open up the application to the public. Actually, I'm sorry. Any questions for the applicant? None. Now, any questions or comments on the application itself? Seeing none. Okay. Okay, I'm in favor of granting this. I think that the request is de minimis in nature. He was here before. We granted it. It's just a placement of an AC condenser, and so long as there's some sort of screening, as we just discussed, I am in favor. So if anyone else is, we can have a motion.
I'll make a move to approve with the condition that it be screened with some kind of vegetation.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Schewitz?
Yes.
Schewitz?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes,
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Collins?
Yes,
Motion passes.
Good luck.
good luck. Okay, the next application that I'm going to call up is application 2024-1639 Brook Street, Block 710, Lot 9. This is a request for a front yard variance for a front porch. Is the applicant here? Good evening, how are you? We're going to swear you in. Do you have anyone else that is,
Yes, I have 2 witnesses, my wife and my father who's helping me build.
oh, okay, so do you want to, one at a time, or all of them will come up and speak? Is everyone going to speak?
I was going to do majority of it, but my father's here just in case there's more technical questions since he's helping me.
All right, so let's swear you in and we'll see where it goes.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give your home address.
It's Scott Richard Marston, and it's 39 Brook Street.
Just spell the last name?
I'm sorry, Marston.
Thank you very much.
Okay, floor is yours.
All right, so we initially applied for an exterior porch open, and it didn't meet the setback requirement. So we applied for the variance, basically, because we felt like it was in line with what our community looks like, because there's a lot of enclosed porches as well as a handful of open porches. We actually have examples that we can share, if anyone would like to see them. I have a few copies here. So, yes, we're just we feel like it's beneficial for us. We already have an enclosed foyer that we're going to be taking down. So the part that's already built there, it wouldn't be extending too much farther than what we already have. It's only that we're extending out to what we already have as a planter, and then just basically the enclosed portion for the roof.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
what you are proposing to do is bigger in size or a bigger footprint than what is presently on site, is that correct?
Slightly, yes. So we already have an enclosed foyer out from our front door. So basically, we'd remove that and then bring out, it would basically be a porch in its stead, but where we have a planter on the left side of the building, basically the porch would go over that, what already exists as a planter.
I have a couple questions about the aesthetics of it.
Yes.
Based on the sketches that you have, I mean, it looks like it's just going to be on post piers. Is there going to be, how is it going to look as far, like typically a front porch is on some kind of decorative piers with some lattice, and it looks almost like what you would see in the backyard of a house, not the front of a house, the way it's drawn.
If I may, I would bring my father up to help with that, because he's assisting me in that.
Before you testify, I need to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your home address.
Thomas Marston, Marston. My home address is 1934 Buchanan Street in Croydon, Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, my daughter-in-law took pictures of a lot of the homes in the neighborhoods.
Okay, so,
and this one picture is a perfect example of what we're planning to build.
so, hang on, so, okay. The pictures that you are going to distribute, because we're gonna mark them into the record as an exhibit, those are pictures of other homes in the neighborhood, not a proposed picture of what you'll be doing. And
No,
one of the
no,
pictures,
Sorry. Oh, these, okay.
Those
all
are
these-
renderings, but
Oh,
these
these
are-
are all, okay.
These are similar.
Yeah, she took pictures of 50 different homes throughout the neighborhood.
but you do have renderings of what,
Yeah, this one rendering here is a perfect example of what we're proposing to do.
okay, so why don't we do the pictures and then the rendering? Okay, so we'll start with the pictures, we're gonna mark that as A1.
I have 3 copies.
Excellent. And then the rendering, we're gonna mark as A2.
And one other clarification, I know Scott said it was a closed porch, it's not, it's an open covered porch, is what we're building. I know I thought I had heard him say it was a closed porch, it's not,
Okay,
open covered porch.
I heard open.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is happening to the, to water and because of the extra coverage?
That actually just got redirected by the work that was done on the street last month. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a new gutter on front of the covered porch, which will go into the current leader that's there now. So actually, we're not really adding a gutter, because the gutter that's on the front of the house now is going to go away and be just moved to the front of the porch.
And will there be any extra water landing on the ground that needs to be redirected?
Well, I don't believe any more than what's already happening.
Are you going to remove that planter that's there? Is that what is? So that's what he's asking is, now that the water goes into the ground, when the planter is, now it's, that water that's now hitting the roof, where's that going?
Again, it'll be directed into the current gutter system that's already there. Well, okay, you're seeing that the downspout is going into the planter. So at this point, it'll go in front of the planter. So the planter's, yes, the planter is going away.
You said you have a rendering of what it's going to look like that you're going to provide?
The one photo there in the very first page, the middle one that in white, that's,
It's an example.
it's an example of what,
Are you referring to the one that's next to our main
Yes.
goals?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
the closest.
Okay,
That's
that's
the
the
closest
closest
to
to what you're looking to do.
One that reads, add porch roof,
I'm sorry?
the picture that says add porch roof, or
No, the following page, if you look at the 3 homes, right?
our
and
main
we're look-
goals?
And we're looking at the middle one, that's, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that is what you're indicating would be the most like,
Yes.
to
That's the
what they're
closest to what
proposing.
we're proposing. Yes.
So it's not going to be like your sketch where it's just sonotubes and posts. It's going to have some decorative elements and corner posts and
Yeah.
lattice and railings on the steps and. That's something that we need to have shown in a drawing more than just a sketch, or is this acceptable to?
I think that's up to us.
Yeah, I guess,
I don't remember ever.
Presentation, it's not necessarily.
Right. Typically, we get an elevation, like drawn, that really shows us what it's going to look like, not,
right. Yeah, in other words, from an architect, doing a 3D
or
rendering.
2D, it's just, you know,
Right,
something that shows,
Well, yeah, the closest I guess I did to that was this drawing here of showing how the side construction's going to be when we originally applied for the permit. That would be the closest I came to that.
Yeah. Okay, just to clarify, right, so it is, yes, there is no actual rendering, so the exhibit will just be marked as A1. We won't have A2.
I have a question. The water runoff from the roof, how is that, now, do you have a pipe going out to the street? Water run, because when the water runs off the house to the gutters, there's usually a pipe that takes it out into the street. Is there house out?
Right, I actually don't remember if his downspouts go into, I don't believe in this township you have them going into pipes that are going underground to the street. Is that correct? That's the one thing I'm not sure.
I've seen that around town a lot.
Right, okay.
So are you gonna, account for water runoff from the roof during a heavy rainstorm or snow melt? Water going,
We can certainly do that. We can certainly do that. We could dig down and make sure it's going into that area of the earth so it's not being distributed elsewhere.
The porch flooring, is that going to be some sort of composite decking?
Yeah, tongue and groove composite.
Okay.
Any other questions?
personally, I'd like to see,
I'd like to see it.
see what it's going to look like as opposed to
Just my opinion.
what it's
Okay.
kind of going to look like and not really having a plan of where the posts are and how the railing's going to look and how the steps are going to look.
Well, I can certainly look into getting a 3D rendering done.
Okay, so it sounds to me like we're gonna wait for that rendering to come in so we can review that. And we'll be looking at a motion to carry this to our next meeting. Do you believe that you'd be able to get that together by our October meeting, which would be the third week in October? Am I? Second week in October, October 15th?
Yeah, I'm sure we probably could.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna look for that, and I think we need a motion then.
Move to table for one.
They don't need to notice,
hearing
right?
date.
No, Bruce will announce that in a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Kirschenbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Hopstein?
Yes.
Mr. Shiwitz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Cohen?
Yes.
Okay, the matter is being carried to October 15th. Any member of the public who is here on this matter, there will be no further notice or publication as it's being carried on the record. So you don't have to do anything further. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Is that it?
But, I'm sorry, but to try to get the rendering in 10 days before so it can be part of the record.
Thank you. Jen can take it. Your copy.
Jen, I didn't mark it A1, but.
This,
There you go. All right, the next application on this evening is application 2024-19, 40 Ruby Street, block 2902, lot 40. This is a request for a lot coverage variance for an extension of a driveway. Is the applicant here? Good evening, how are you? Come on up to the podium. Is that what it is? We're gonna swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Nothing but the truth.
Please keep your voice up. Give us your full name, spell your last name, and your home address.
Okay, my full name is Jean Orleans. Spelling last name is Orleans. The address is 40 Ruby Street.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Orleans, please tell us a little bit about what you are requesting this evening and your reasons for that request.
Okay, the request is, apparently did a little bit of extension, like which is like a half of a moon on the side of my driveway, just to have a little bit extra parking since the family is growing, and not just for a pill. And then at nighttime, since you cannot park on the street, I'm new in town. I moved in last year, and then I didn't know like you cannot park on the street, from like 2 to 6. So I just did it, but I didn't know there was like a permit required, because the guy that was doing it was supposed to take care of everything for me, and he did not get a permit. So, and I found out later in my mail, there was something that I was supposed to do, and I didn't do it.
Okay. How many cars do you currently fit in your driveway without the extension that is now placed on your property?
Right now, I could do, excluding the garage, because I have like 2-car garage inside, because I don't normally use it, we could fit 4 cars.
Okay. Members of the board, any questions?
The material you're using, the material you're using for the driveway, was it asphalt, concrete?
It was
Pavers.
pavers.
Pavers?
Yes. And I did my little research with pavers, water could penetrate, which is not really gonna be a hazard to the, to the area. And it's not really that, it's only about 8 feet wide by 19. You could fit only 1 car. And I included some pictures on my application. You could see the finish of it, how it looks like.
So your goal is to leave a car parked in that
Yeah,
curved area in
that's
front
all
of
it's
the
there
house?
for, yeah. And it looks nice. Everybody loves it in the neighborhood. For some reason, it just makes it look nice. And that's the whole purpose of it, just to, at nighttime, because I have like 2 kids in college, and then sometime, schedule on and off who get to go in first, go last. So we had that little extra steps right here. And my daughter used it pretty much to go to school. Like when she wants to leave in the morning, I don't have to get up and move my car, so she could move out.
Did you look at possibly widening the driveway a little bit to the right so that you can just get a car there?
You know what? The appearance of my house, if I moved it, it's gonna be right in front of my door, and I don't wanna have anything blocking my door, like, my main entrance door. This is why I had it, it's kinda like away from that door the way I did it.
I mean to the right side of the house where
No,
you...
to the right side,
you
my
have-
neighbor is
You
there.
have about, it looks like almost 10 feet. That,
No, not to the right.
well, on the survey it says you have 9.8 feet.
I don't think it's to the, I think probably it's to the left. Because my house is to the right of my land. And my neighbor line is right there on the side of my driveway. I can go to the right.
I am looking at the right survey, right, number 40?
Right. Maybe, if you guys, because I know the house is facing,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
just come out and get a car right there.
Do you think he'd actually be able to get that out?
to the right will be this area right here, right?
Correct.
Oh, right there, there's no, it's only trees, like little small trees out there. I can even get 3 to 4 feet on the right side.
I have it on the screen if you'd like to see it.
Is there a lot of vegetation there? Is that what it is? or-
There's vegetation.
Mike, I have a question for you. Is this, the main issue is the lot coverage, correct?
Goes from 42.5 to 43.5.
Right.
1% increase.
As far as the fact that he did use block, is that,
It's not it's an impervious substance, just like asphalt. It's not designed as a permeable surface. It's already in place, by the way.
yeah, okay, yeah, so,
Is there any issue with having 3 cars parked in front of the house? Is there any,
Lot coverage is what controls that.
because for some reason, I thought there was some kind of rule about percentage coverage in front of the house, or am I wrong?
You're thinking of another town.
Okay, sorry.
That's where I could move it only this way. If I move it this way, the main door of my house is this way.
I understand what you're saying, but what I was saying is, could you do this? Put a car here and get a car out of the way?
He's showing the picture that was in the application. Yes,
Right.
right? The picture
Yes.
that you're looking at is part of the
Yes,
application.
it's part of the
Yeah.
application.
Oh,
But the thing is, you've installed this already.
Yeah, it's already installed, yeah.
Right.
You can see in the picture, right?
How do you feel about the impervious coverage increase? Is there any,
It's 1%.
it's negligible as far as any kind of detriment?
It's under the threshold of where it would be required to mitigate. You can always do beyond that, but it's not, doesn't meet that 200 square foot threshold.
I don't have any more questions.
okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. When they put in this part of your driveway, did they grade it so that the water drains out and doesn't sit there, or?
It's
grade it?
on it's like on it's not straight, it's like it's sitting like that on the
Well,
angle.
what I'm saying is, because most driveways are graded a little bit, so the water goes out into the
Right.
street, doesn't sit there or go into your house. Is this part of the driveway graded as such that it goes out?
Same way, yes.
we're talking based on, it's already, 42.5 is the existing, so it's already non-conforming, so it's an increase of really 1% over the existing non-conforming.
Yes.
I see what you're saying, Steve. I just don't know, like, I'm not an engineer, right? So I don't know that they could actually, for the purposes of getting cars in and out, I don't know if they would be able to actually maneuver all of them that way, but. Okay, any other questions from the board members?
Not for me.
Okay. Do you have any members of the public who have questions for this applicant? None. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this application? None. Okay. We are now in deliberation.
I have no other comments except what I did.
Okay, is there a motion by any member of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yep, oh, now we're back,
Oh,
sorry.
There we go, sorry about that. I'll make a motion to approve application 2024-19 for lot coverage for the extension of its driveway.
I'll second that.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Schewitz?
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
And Chair Coe?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, okay. We done, right?
Okay, we are going to take a 10-minute break. Okay. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we're going to go off the record, and we will be back. The time is now 6:34. We will see you at 6:45. Thank you. All right, we are back on the record. It is 6:40. I'm going to call up the final application this evening, which is application 2024-14, 170 US Route 22 East, Block 3703, Lot 1. A request for preliminary and final site plan approval, use variance for an expansion of the building at the Autoland Toyota. Do we have, good evening, how are you?
My name is Jay Bone. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Schiller, Pitzer, and Galvin, PC, and I represent the applicant, Autoland, tonight. It's a pretty straightforward case. I'm going to present 3 witnesses. The first will be Joe Katina, who is the vice president of Autoland. He's seated with me. Then we will have our engineer, Josh Tyner, following up with our planner, who's John McDonough. Very briefly, to set the stage for the testimony, we are proposing to put an addition on the existing Toyota showroom that will be a place for customers who are coming for service to come in, to have their service order written up. They will then be able to wait there or to leave the site if they want to do that. The car will be shuttled back to the existing service building at the rear of the site. This is intended to make things better for the customer. They don't have to go back to the back part of the site. They'll have a comfortable waiting room, and that will be more carefully explained by Mr. Katina. So if I'd start, I'd like to have him sworn.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth? Please give us your full name, spell your last name, and state your business address.
Sure. Joseph A. Katina, C-A-T-E-N-A. And you want my business address is 170 Route 22 East, Springfield, New Jersey.
Wherever your business is.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Katina, what is your position with Autoland?
I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Autoland.
Okay, and what does Autoland do on the property that's the subject of tonight's application? You can sit down if you're more comfortable.
Terrific, thank you. We sell new and used vehicles as well as certified vehicles. We also service and maintain those vehicles as well as sell parts.
And what brand cars do you sell as new vehicles?
We have Toyota, Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge.
Okay.
Ram also.
And in general terms, because we'll get into specifics with the professional testimony, what do you want to do that brings you here tonight?
Well, you know, it's all about improving the customer experience, right? So we love to say that we want to be best in town, best in place, best in show. And currently, right now, our service facility, which is basically facing Lawrence Avenue, all the vehicles, when the customers come in, they pull down Lawrence Avenue or Fathom, come around Diamond and back up around. And the waiting area, as well as where the vehicle is serviced, is currently in that building. What we're looking to do is put on the addition of having a drive-through connected to our existing Toyota facility. So it's basically going to be a one-stop shop. They're going to be able to pull in, have their car written up right there, and then go into a beautiful waiting room, which is going to be which is existing, you know, part of the Toyota showroom, and have everything right there. Their cars will be shuttled down to the existing building, and yeah, just make it that much better for them.
What are the service department hours?
Our service hours are 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
And you may have already, would you just tell the board how this will work from the customer's perspective?
Customer's going to pull in. We are going to have, you know, service lanes. They're going to pull right into the building. Service, our ASMs, our assistant service managers, will then greet the customer at their vehicle, write them up. Okay? Then they will be able to proceed from that right into the customer waiting lounge, if they are waiting for their vehicle. If they're not waiting for their vehicle, they can either be put into a loaner vehicle. We have Uber and Lyft services that we shuttle the folks back and forth, as well as our own shuttle service.
Will the addition of this service drive increase your need for employee or customer parking?
No, no, it's not going to increase the need for employees as of right now, because basically, everything we're utilizing as far as employees, in the existing building right now, the only thing that's going to be left down there is our mechanics, our dispatch, and our parts personnel. As far as all of our ASMs, our service manager, our office personnel will be in the new facility.
And we'll go over the professional reports in detail later, but one of them asked a question about where employees currently park.
We currently have a parking facility on Diamond Road that is right behind the property. So all of our employees park in that parking lot.
So all of the parking spaces on your site are not used by your employees?
Correct.
Okay, I think that's all I have. Is there anything else you wanted to tell the board before I invite them to ask questions?
No, not at all. I just thank you for allowing me to, state what we're, looking to do here tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness?
I have one. Are you going to be removing any parking spaces for this addition?
We're not going to be removing any parking spaces currently that we have to put this addition on, no.
And our site engineer will go over the parking provided and required in detail. But we've got plenty of parking.
Sounds like nothing's gonna change, so why do you have to even bother?
The purpose is to have the customers stay up front in the nice new building.
So all you're doing is moving customers, you're not moving any of the,
The service, as he testified, the service department will remain in its existing facility.
and the employees are gonna park in the same spot.
Yes.
So all you're doing, as I understand it, is to move where the customers are placed while you're doing whatever work you intend to be doing with them.
And where the entire customer interface will take place in the new facility.
Correct.
So you're moving customers, you're not moving build, structure, any apparatus.
No, the service facility where the vehicles are being maintained and serviced is still going to be done in the existing building. Okay, this is going to be a service drive-through and have everything in one stop.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? I'll give everyone a minute.
I just have a question. Your engineer will just go over how the process works on the site differently, is that?
Yes.
All right, while everyone's taking a look, do our professionals have any questions for this witness? No, great. Any other questions from the board at this time? All right, I'm gonna open it to the public. Is there any member of the public that have any questions for this witness with respect to what he just stated on the record? None. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
The next witness is Josh Steiner.
In addition to what we brought there, I Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give your business address.
Joshua Tyner, Tiner, 433 North Ave East in Westfield.
And the documents that you handed out, were those previously part of the application, or?
One or two might be.
Okay, why don't we then mark the whole packet of, is it 8 pages?
Yeah.
As A1. Thank you.
Actually, I think it's 9 pages.
9 pages?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Steiner, let's start with telling the board a little bit about your educational and licensing and professional experience.
I graduated from Penn State University in 1995 with a bachelor's degree in science and civil engineering. Was licensed as a professional engineer in 2003. I've testified and been qualified before dozens of boards throughout the state of New Jersey, some in New York. I've actually testified before this board on this property back a few years ago for a smaller project, and my license is current.
Madam Chairwoman, I offer Mr. Tyner as an expert in engineering.
Any members of the board have any objections?
I haven't heard any questions or comments about licensing and expert, or did I miss it?
He did, and he said it is current in good standing.
Thank you.
You are qualified as a professional in engineering, so please proceed. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let me just run through some information about the property. This first sheet, you're going to mark all of them together, I suppose. Is that what you said, as just A1 as a pack? Okay, great. Yep. Is this too loud? Am I too close to the microphone?
Oh, it's excellent. This is
Okay,
great.
good.
Thank you.
Yep. So this site is located at 170 Route 22 East, Springfield, New Jersey. As you heard from the applicant, that they're the owner-operator on the site. The tax lot in question is Springfield Township Block 3703, Lot 1. Referring to this first page of the marked exhibit, this is just an aerial photograph of the property. The property is marked in red. That's the site. The blue line is a zoning line, just so you can see that there's a zoning line that cuts through the property. This site it fronts on Route 22 on the top part of this sheet, which is the north side. Lawrence Road is to the left or the west. And then Diamond Road fronts the site to the south. The HC zone is the highway commercial zone. That's what the north half of the site is on, which permits this use, automobile services, as a conditional use, and we do comply with the 5 conditions required to be a compliant use. But in the I-40 zone, which is to the south, this is a not permitted use, which is why we're before this board. So that just gives you an orientation of the site. You can also see that there's 3 buildings on the property. The building furthest to the right is the CDJR aspect of the brands that they provide car dealership with. The one in the center, which says site on it, that's the main existing Toyota franchise building. And then off to the left is what's the service and parts building. That at one point I think had a dealership in it as well, in a distant past. So there's really several ways onto the property. There's one off of Route 22, which is kind of difficult to see there, but it's the main entrance off of Route 22. That would be one that would be required by DOT, NJDOT, if we were to change something associated with it. Just for the record, we did get a letter of no interest related to this application from NJDOT. And then if you came down Lawrence Road, the first curb cut there if you would make a left in if you were coming from Route 22 down Lawrence Road. That's how people currently get to drop their cars off for service, that you would make a left in there. and then kind of drive around to the back of that building and enter and drop your vehicle off on the inside of that building. And then they would do the service. You would have, there's a small waiting location inside. There's also another curb cut location off of Lawrence Road a little further down. That's kind of lets you into a parking area for where people could buy parts, but I understand it's mostly wholesale parts that are sold there. There's not really many customers there to buy parts. That actually drives through, and there's a loading dock there on that building, so a truck could back into that building, and then they would drive through and exit out onto Diamond Road. So there's another curb cut there. Then there's another one off of Diamond Road where the main security is, so any inventory vehicles and whatnot that come into the property really come in through the back there off of Diamond Road. There's a gated entrance there. And then there's another place which I think is usually, it remains gated, but there's another curb cut off of at the corner, the lower right-hand corner of Diamond Road. So this is a large property, a lot of space. It's 19.4 acres, so that's like 845,000 square feet. And so we have all those different access points, and then this site has already been improved over the decades with paved parking, landscaping, lighting, signage. There's signage all over this property, and then there's security fencing. And the interesting part, just as came up in some of the review, security fencing comes off of the like upper left-hand corner of the Toyota dealership building, and it goes sort of perpendicular away from the building and up toward Route 22, and then a fence follows that part of the property to the left and really secures everything from the back. So there's just no really customer through traffic available at any time on this property from the front parking areas and to the back. You would have to go through gated fences, and they don't really want customers going from the front to back, so it's anytime it's open, it's typically just employees moving vehicles. So most of what they want in terms of customer associated with the sales of the CDJR and the Toyota is in the front parking. And some inventory parking is available up front, and the service had always traditionally been for the CDJR is in the CDJR building off to the right, but for the Toyota, the service was all done in that building adjacent to Lawrence Road. So I guess we could turn to the second page, which is labeled R2. It's page 2 of this A1 marked exhibit. This is a colorized rendering of what we're proposing to do here. Everything that's light tan is an existing building to remain. There's a sort of orange for concrete. There's light green or off-shade pea-colored green. It's existing grass areas that are remaining. Darker gray is changes, new pavement, which a portion of that is an overlay, mill-in overlay. And then you can see the darker brown building. That's the addition that was called for the service drive to give us this new functionality that they're looking to do. Inside that, let's just talk about that. That's a 7,294 square foot building addition. So all the buildings remain as is in terms of footprint, except for that 7,000-ish addition off to the left. So what's happening here in the functionality inside this building? Well, as everybody knows on the modern car dealerships, when people are dropping off their cars for service, they're mainly coming into an interior space, dropping off, staying inside, able to walk over to some desks for service writers. They take the order or figure out what the needs are. There's also going to be an interior renovation of, like if you see how there's like 3 sort of notches on that Toyota building, that third notch to the left of the light tan part of the building, that's currently like a fairly vacant open space because prior years there was a Scion dealership that occupied that part of it. They had that brand that they were selling out of that area. And so it's been an open space. They haven't for about 8 years, as I understand it, had that car dealership here. So that's going to be retrofit for some offices and whatnot, but mainly for the customer experience. So there's going to be a lot of open space for customers to sit, peruse, maybe get some snacks, whatever. They spend a lot of money on coffee every month, I understand it. So, so there's 2 drive-in doors for our service drive for each when people drop off their car. There's 2 more overhead doors just for storage that are in the back of that building. If you're looking at the dark brown part, like the lower right-hand part there, you see the squares with the X's through it are what I call like the overhead doors. That's where like people can drive into the building through an overhead door. So there's 2 back there. They're more for storage and things that they like they're going to keep like a plow type vehicle, not a plow, but like a small vehicle. I guess Joe could tell me what it was. It's small vehicles that they could like move salt around and stuff like that. But then the 4 doors that are overhead doors for the service drop off are there. It's clear. It's a rectangular portion of that building. So what's the circulation anticipated to be at this site? Well, we're coming off of Route 22. They're going to teach and educate their clients over time pretty quickly, I think with some mailers or whatnot, to understand that they're no longer going to be coming down Lawrence Road to get to the service drop. They're going to come in off of Route 22, just like people do when they're coming in for sales and service. And we've got, we're restriping and redoing things so that it's very clear that there's a single lane. There's going to be adequate signage that's really clear about where you're going for Toyota service. You're going to come down this lane. I don't know if you can see it, but there's 2 lanes of traffic going back and forth across from parking spaces up against the building, a row of parking across from there. That's mainly going to be for customers. I don't know if you want to zoom in there, Jennifer, maybe. That could maybe help. If you're zoom in, go a little more, like kind of get the dark gray centered on there. Yeah, so in front of the main building, there's a drive aisle. There's all this parking there for customers. But people that come in for service, they're pretty much going to come in and they're going to make a right. It would be they'd travel to the left, and then as you get down to the end of that straightaway, it would open up to 2 lanes for getting into the service drive. The fence that we had talked about before, and so then most of this paved area off to the left is now, it's like an existing motor vehicle service gravelly area that's inside the fence. A part of that, half of that, there's a fence that's going to go perpendicular off the side of the building there, and it's going to maintain that secure area off to the planned south side, generally speaking, and there won't be a fence in the front yard toward Route 22 anymore. And we've striped out that area just for the inventory parking that they'd have out there for now. It was already more or less inventory anyway. It was just not striped. It was on gravel. And again, as we've talked about earlier, we're not really intensifying the use here at all. It's the same service function, but it's happening in a different way. And that's the whole purpose of why we're here. We can move on to just a brief discussion of architectural, and this will actually also help. The next page of the, well, it was for you, Jen, would be a different exhibit. It's probably the ones that are numbered 3 through 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, so this gives you a view of, that's what that area looks like now. If you were kind of hovering over Route 22. And looking into this is where the Scion dealership was at one point. That's kind of a vacant part of the building. If you just move to the next one, this is a 3D colorized rendering of how that's going to change with our service drive entrance. So you can clearly see that. These are backwards of how they are in my packet. The packet had the other one, the closer ones, first and second. So if you go to the next one, Jen, this is the first one you see in the packet, which is kind of like giving you a bigger view of the building. And the next one would just be how that addition kind of plays off. And so we have our lanes here driving in, and that's how people would go in to drop off their car. So architecturally, this is going to be consistent with the feel of the existing building. It's also going to be on 3 sides of this, all 3 sides of the addition are going to be nicely finished to match. The interior renovations I mentioned are part of the application to improve that customer experience. So I guess I'm going to talk through the bulk requirements of this property, just to put it all on the record. I could go through that faster if the board would prefer, and kind of just talk about which ones really, we're all pretty much either compliant or existing nonconformities, other than really the max impervious coverage, which we actually were an existing nonconformity that we've improved by slightly adding a little bit of more green space in the property. Just because, there's a larger green space in the back there behind there's like a wedge, a triangular wedge of green space that you can see across from where they currently drive in off of Lawrence Road. So I kind of really talked through the site circulation. In terms of parking, total required parking from a zoning perspective is based on this being a retail use. And the calculation reveals that we would need 772 parking spaces. Our site plans have 587 striped spaces and then significantly more adequate unstriped parking spaces where we also place inventory. Really, for the purposes of the need, we had created the exhibit that is also in the packet called P1. This is actually in your application drawings as well, which just kind of breaks down generally where like inventory is, customer parking is, where service vehicles would be parked while they're being serviced throughout the property. And it was just kind of Mike, Mr. Disco, we were kind of communicating a little bit about it, and we thought it'd be helpful based on his review letter and the fact that ADA parking and EV parking really should be requirements based on the number of customer parking spaces, not really the entirety of parking on a property as a whole, especially when you're talking about inventory. Having to park ADA vehicles for inventory parking isn't how the process works. So we put this exhibit together to just bring some clarity to that. Our intention is to comply with ADA. We have compliant aisle widths, compliant parking space sizes. We did, Mike's comment number 11 on one of his letters just mentions how ADA, there should be some closer to the area where we're going to be dropping off, where the drop-off doors are. So we're going to reconfigure that as a condition of approval if the board so chooses to approve this application. I think there's just got to be some ADA and a quick access into the man door or person door that gets you in next to the overhead doors by the service drive. Inside the building, there's a lift, just like currently over by, not this closest entrance, but the entrance off to the left where you mainly would go into the Toyota sales room. There's a lift, like an exterior elevator for ADA access from parking. What else with parking? There's EV parking requirements. In the reviews that we received, we talked about 8 EV parking spaces not being adequate, but we've actually gone and looked at the site and talked with the client, and they've already had 10 EV parking spaces there. We're also going to be supplementing with these 8. These 8 are going to be installed day one as a part of the construction. They're not being installed as make-ready. They're going to put the EV parking in right away. So there'll be 18 EV parking spaces. That's electrical vehicle, if that wasn't already clear. It was mentioned, I think, during the owner's testimony, just how the employee parking takes place off-site across Diamond Road. I understand they've been doing that since the 1980s. On that P1 exhibit, you can see the property that they own. It's not labeled as what lot it is, but that's where the employee parking is and has been. There's also an off-site refuse container that they have on that property, so that's really where they manage people, the cleaning crews bring all the cleaning refuse over to the lot on the other side of Diamond Road, and that's what they've been doing for decades. One of the items in the review that requires relief is stacked parking. There's just this one stretch over there. I guess if we, to the lower left, it's shown as green inventory parking. Of the lower left of the new parking area there, you can see how there's parking spaces that don't have a drive aisle on both sides of it. We call that stacked parking, that's inventory parking. Car dealerships do this all the time, but your ordinance is very specific that you don't allow for stacked parking. So we're asking for relief for that they can park a couple deep with their, some of the inventory vehicles as they're storing them, and et cetera. What else with parking? The whole purpose was to, I just wanted to reiterate that this is like in addition to the improvement for the customer experience, we are kind of improving and beautifying this property with just a clean pavement over where there was a gravelly motor vehicle surface in the past. And so that's going to be beneficial. And that it's not really intensifying the use. This is about that additional parking that we are proposing was really just to clarify and make it so that the circulation is more functional and how they store some inventory. Loading was one of the topics in the reviews, and we had resubmitted prior when we didn't have the last hearing, and there's a sheet S2 in the application documents that now reflects 3 loading areas that are there, which didn't even actually show the loading docks on the other door. So there's plenty of loading space. In fact, better than almost any car dealership I've ever been to. If you see in the lower right-hand corner, there's like a dedicated driveway for the car loading vehicles to not do it on the street. So they actually offload vehicles from the car carriers on their property in a dedicated drop-off lane that many car dealers try to get away with just doing it in the street. So other vehicles or features of note, the service drop-off queuing is more than adequate in our opinion. We not only have the ability to fit up to 8 vehicles inside of the drop-off area, we can stack and queue many cars deep in that lane and approaches coming off of Route 22. We don't think there would ever be a stacking problem or a queuing problem with vehicles. Not to mention that when people are going to drop off their car, they typically make an appointment, and so they know how to time that they don't get overwhelmed with vehicles coming in for service at any given time. Refuse management, I mentioned, takes place across Diamond Road. I talked about the fence. So that fence does require relief that I guess if you go back to the photograph, Jen, you can see the fence as it currently is. Not on the rendering, but the photograph. Yeah, one of those two. Yeah, you can see the fence. So it's coming off the corner of the building, coming out toward that one existing sign, and then it kind of wraps around. So that fence is gone. That fence is an existing nonconformity because you're not allowed to have a fence in the front yard like that. But we're going to continue requesting a nonconformity or relief from the fence in the front yard, but now the front yard is off of Lawrence because our fence is in the front yard off of Lawrence. Drainage, our drainage strategy is to, create a safe and efficient conveyance of stormwater. It's going to be an improvement over what's there now. It kind of it's in the gravel and whatnot, so now it'll be paved, it'll be captured. There's going to be some modest stormwater management just to comply with all the New Jersey stormwater regulations. Our intent has been in our conversations with Mr. Disco to comply with everything, and so we did resubmit a drainage report recently. If he had any further questions going into resolution compliance, we intend to comply with whatever requirements he had for drainage. Lighting, the intent of lighting, this site, as you can see in the photographs, has pretty significant lights, these big, tall, white lights that are, I don't believe they're LED. We're going to propose LED lighting across the entirety of the parking lot. We're not changing the lights in the back, but we're going to change the lights in front of the building and all the way in front of the CDJR building, just so that they match, so that the front parking lot will have a consistent feel for all users that come to the property. Landscaping, we have some modest landscaping proposed. The existing site has, you can see actually in the photos, there's some landscaping along the edge of the pavement. That's all intended to remain. We're gonna add a few trees and shrubs here or there. That was our goal. The goal of a car dealership is to not damage their cars on curbs and stuff inside of islands and whatnot in parking lots, so we try to avoid that with car dealerships. So we need some relief from some of the landscaping requirements that are for a large parking lot, and so we're requesting that. Utilities, electric, water, gas. At one point in an earlier review, there was some maybe confusion that we thought looked like there might be a transformer. The transformer for the building is actually not in front of the building. It's to the side, in between the two buildings. The one for the other building, the CDJR building, is on the other side of the CDJR building. So there's no transformer in the front yard, which we had thought that maybe there was an implication that there was going to be one possibly. But this addition is going to get its electrical service off of the electrical service that's already feeding the building. And so that's how that will be powered. The sanitary sewer service, there's no new sanitary, but the calculations, since you have a larger footprint, require that you are technically generating more sewage. So we have to get an approval from the Rahway Valley Sewage Authority, which we will do. Other outstanding outside approvals were the Soil Conservation District, Somerset Union, and Union County. Both of those we've gotten. I mentioned the NJDOT letter of no interest that we got. And the biggest other thing to talk about is probably signage. So this property has a lot of signs, and it's a little bit of a challenge to follow it all. So there is a signage plan in the set, but I brought an exhibit here tonight. It's SE1, which you can see all of the existing signs that are on the site. We made that drawing with little pictures of each one. A good portion of these are going away. Some of them are remaining. And then we're going to have, 2 new building-mounted signs, which you can see on the architectural pictures from before. One of them says Service Drive, one of them says Service Entrance. That's because the people would walk into the service entrance, or service reception, I said service entrance. Service Drive is where you drive up. Service Reception is where you could walk up into the service seating area. But you can also get there, obviously, through the inside if you were in the Service Drive. And then there's going to be 14 proposed freestanding signs. One of them is a tall sign. It's a Toyota brand sign that is 20, let me just find that. It's 29 feet tall, I believe. 29 foot 8 inches, I think is what it is. And the limit for sign height is 22 feet. So that one's proposed. And then all the rest of those freestanding signs are basically directional signs that which help to clarify. I guess if you moved on to the other sign drawing, which is a colorized rendering of what's in the package in terms of the signage plan. These signs are helping people understand, if I go this way, I get to sales. If I go this way, I go to service. If I want to go to service, I keep going that way. If I'm out on Lawrence Road, there's some old signs. They look like they're on plywood. They got painted. Now these are going to be nice brand-looking signs that are kind of just replacing the same signage that's out there, more or less, other than reducing any confusion that there could be while you're driving around the parking lot. So signage is a big deal. So after all is said and done, this is my opinion of what variance relief is required for the application. From 35-14, automotive sales and service are not permitted in the I-40 zone. 35-14, Highway Commercial District, max lot coverage is 63%. We have an existing nonconformity, which is improved, but it's still at 92.9%. The I-40 district, the maximum lot coverage is 72%, and within the I-40 portion, 81.3% is the existing nonconformity with no change. Not changing what's out there, but it's existing nonconformity. From 35-14, attachment 1, max accessory height of 15 feet with an existing 19-foot 9-inch existing nonconformity on a structure on site. From 35-22.1.c.2, no fence permitted in the front yard. That's an improved existing nonconformity. I'm going to call it an improvement because it's not like out by 22. It's slightly over by Lawrence Avenue. From 35-23.5.b, no driveway or parking area in any non-residential district shall be closer than 5 feet to a side or rear property line. There's an existing nonconformity because we're close to the property line with some of our parking around the site in non-changed ways. Yeah, so it's not changing, it's just existing nonconformity. From 35-23.8, refuse storage is located off-site, and that would technically, I think, be an existing nonconformity. We don't have like trash enclosures on the property. They bring everything over to the other site, as they have since 1980 something. From 35-24.1.g, landscaping. All parking areas providing at least 10 parking stalls shall provide the following landscaping features. And from .g1, 5% of the interior portion of said parking areas, excluding all perimeter landscaping and required buffer areas, shall be landscaped, and no more than 15 parking stalls shall exist in a continuous row without a landscaping break. This is an existing nonconformity that's appropriate to a car dealership that we're continuing to request relief for, even though we're here with a new application. From 35-24G.1.G3, the ends of all parking rows shall be separated from access aisles by a landscaping island, at least 4 feet in width without a landscape break. Again, this is nonconformity that we're hoping to continue under this application. G5 of that same section of the code, evergreen and other appropriate plantings shall be required to separate parking areas from public right-of-ways. This is an existing nonconformity. Along the public right-of-way and the road, we do have some trees, and we're providing some new street trees, but specifically along Route 22, which is the main visibility to inventory. They wouldn't want to put screening, buffering from the road. The car dealership wants to have visibility to their inventory from cars driving by on 22. So we need relief from that there. From 35-24.1H, sidewalks shall be a maximum of 6 feet. We have some existing nonconformities of sidewalks that are more than 6 feet on the property. From 25.1B, the lighting of driveways, similar locations, 0.6-foot candle, while all parking areas shall provide an average illumination of 0.4-foot candles. Our foot candles are in excess of that. They were in excess of that in the existing condition. As a car dealership, they well light up their inventory. We're going to continue that with what we've proposed. From 35-25.1B, lights to automatically shut off at 10 p.m. with the exception of security lighting. You can argue that this isn't necessarily relief required, but they are leaving the lights on from dusk to dawn. They consider all the lights. They don't just turn off some. They're leaving all of the lights on for security purposes. This is expensive inventory that they want to have well lit. They want their property to be safe and secure and visible and deterring other people, whatever, criminals, I guess. So again, from the surrounding uses and adjacencies, I don't see any issue with that personally, that there's not going to be a negative impact to any surrounding use. Planner will probably speak to that a little more. From 35-25.4, street trees to be provided in all developments at intervals not more than 50 feet. Again, we do some street trees along Lawrence Road, but we're not proposing new ones along Route 22, so that's relief that we need. From 35-31.8.B.8A, signs in commercial districts, Each automobile dealership will be permitted one freestanding sign for each 100 feet of road frontage along Route 22, provided that the number of freestanding signs shall not exceed the number of different franchises located on a property, and that the freestanding signs are separated by at least 100 feet. We are not conforming with that. We have, the existing did not conform with that, and we are just adding more signs. Most of the signs that we're proposing here are not very tall, very big. They're there for directional purposes, other than that one large freestanding sign. But what we plan to have remain, coupled with what we're proposing, it's not going to comply with that requirement. 35-31 8B 8A, signs in commercial district. I skipped over one. No, 8B 8B, signs in commercial districts. The maximum area of any single freestanding sign shall be 75 square feet. Existing signs do not conform with that. The new proposed signs, especially the large one, will not conform with that. But it's consistent with the other car dealership signs that are regularly in this area and on this property. From 35-31 8B 8C, freestanding max height 22 feet with a 7-foot clearance from the ground. Again, this 29-foot 8-inch high sign does not have clearance below it either. So it exceeds the height limit by 7 feet about, and does not have, it's not like a pylon sign. It's the whole sign itself goes all the way to the ground. 35-31 8B 8D, freestanding sign setback 10 feet from the lot line and 15 feet from the pavement line. There's some existing signs that are really right close to and right on the property line, and that's going to continue to remain. Our new sign, that large one, is actually set back more than 10 feet, but I'm just putting that on the record. And then from 35-33.4.C, stacked parking prohibited, which I mentioned. I explained the stacked parking. It's industry standard for car dealerships to put inventory in stacked parking. So moving on to the review letters, we received and reviewed Mike Disco's engineering memos dated 8/16/2024 and an updated 9/15/2024 respectively. And we've had conversations with Mike associated with the project and resolution compliance. We anticipate we will generally comply with all the comments. I believe I've testified to all the engineering topics required in his memo during my direct testimony, but I'm welcome to talk more about whatever. And we reviewed the Harbor Consultants memo dated 8/16/2024, and will generally comply with all their comments as well. I believe I testified to all the engineering items. The only ones I want to note would be comment F5, which notes the excessive signage. And I just want to reiterate that there's no, there is new brand sign along the highway, but most of the other freestanding signs are directional and important based on the various changes to the new customer experience and how they'll circulate, and so they know where they are going and how to get to where they need to go. And then regarding item F7, the comments on landscaping, to reiterate, I think that this site's landscaping is actually pretty good for the area. A lot of these sites don't have much landscaping at all. There's decent green space between the parking lot and Route 22 and along all the edges, pretty good buffering. And they spent a lot of money recently to put in like river rock landscaping instead of mulch in certain locations. So they definitely want their customers to feel like it's a nice property, and they do what it takes to make it look nice. But the comments are that it feels like it could use more. So we're willing to work with the planner on some reasonable things if the board would like us to. Generally speaking, I'd like to not add islands and landscaping in the main field of the parking area, and we certainly wouldn't want to create a buffer or a screen from Route 22. And I think that's pretty much my direct testimony. So in summary, if the board would grant the approval, we anticipate the ability to comply with all the other comments.
Thank you. Members of the board, any questions for the engineer? You're not on.
Okay.
There you go.
How are the signs going to be illuminated?
How inside?
How are the signs going to be illuminated?
Oh, the signs, some will have some internal illumination, not really on the exterior, and some, it's mostly happening during the day, so it's the lighting itself.
The reason I ask is sometimes people are driving and the lights for the signs are disruptive to people driving by on the highway.
Yeah, there won't be like ground lights shining up onto the signs. They're internally illuminated to the extent that we illuminate them.
A couple other questions. What happens when somebody goes down Lawrence Road the wrong way now because they're used to it? Is there an easy way for them to?
Yeah, well, that was what was important about some of the signs that we put. So like if you were to look at Exhibit R3, which is the signage plan, if you come down, there's a sign that kind of says, hey, there is a night drop over here still. There's parts signs, there's signs that tell you that Toyota service, this sign right here says Toyota service off Route 22. They want people to see that sign, that it's basically letting them know that if you're gonna come here for service, you gotta go off of Route 22. So what they'll have to learn over time is that you don't drop off the car where you used to. There's gonna be, well, that gate that was there, that they opened every day will stay closed now, so people won't be going up that way. And they'll probably just come down Lawrence Road and then make the left into the site and drive up that sort of like bypass aisle there, and then come back out and go back to Lawrence Road and back on the 22. So they'll definitely have to learn that over time.
How, if at all, will your lighting impact on adjoining property or on traffic?
I think lighting's going to be better. We're using 18-foot poles, and it's LEDs. It's going to be pointing down. The lighting on Route 22 is pretty substantial in general. For anybody that grew up around here, I remember coming home on vacation always, and once we got to Union and Route 22, I was like, oh, Dad, you're waking me up.
Did you do any testing to see whether it impacts on adjoining property?
Well, no, I didn't do any testing. We just did the modeling of the proposed lighting with the lighting software.
Are there any adjoining residentially used properties?
No. It's all other commercial and industrial uses.
Will it overwhelm adjoining property?
I don't think it's going to overwhelm adjoining properties. I think it's probably an improvement over what's existing now, honestly.
And you base that on what?
They're taller lights now. There's significant lights. It's going to be comparable to what it is now, but our poles aren't as tall. So there's maybe a few more lights to create that brightness, but it's just not.
Can you amplify that, put more lights and what it does?
Say that again?
So can you amplify or clarify what the few more lights will do to adjoining properties or highway traffic?
Well, the goal at the property lines and the right-of-way was to not really increase anything from existing, and certainly adjoining properties back off of Diamond or anything off of to the east, or nothing's changing off of the back lighting. It's in the front, so the lighting is for.
You're expressing an opinion, but you're not telling me what it's based on.
I guess the answer is, well, see, my problem in trying to answer your question truthfully is that I didn't model the existing lighting. I only know what the proposed lighting is.
But I'm concerned with what you're proposing to put in, not what's there.
Oh, yeah, well, what's proposed, I personally feel like it's appropriate for the use. It's going to be fine. It's not going to cause any problems.
Is how it affects other properties in the area.
I don't think it affects, I don't personally, professionally think it affects other properties. Now, did somebody,
What I'm asking is, on what do you base that opinion?
just professional experience and opinion?
do you know what the light level will be spilling onto adjacent properties?
I don't have that in my exhibits. I can pull out the plans and refer to them and refresh myself, but I don't have it memorized at the moment. So
I would suggest that when this be part of something that he can look up while I'm presenting the planner's testimony, and then we'll bring
Problem
that
with
back.
that, as long as he can answer.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely answer. I just don't have the exhibit in front of me. I guess that's why I was.
I just had questions. When somebody is picking up their car, maybe, I don't know if it's better for you, how do the mechanics, I know how you drop it off, but how does somebody pick up their car?
They're still going to come to the service reception area to get their
Bring it
car.
back through the
Yeah.
same...
And they will do that. You know what? The one thing I didn't talk about is that there is a new proposed curb cut onto Lawrence Avenue. And so when they leave, they will come out, follow the signage, and they'll leave out onto Lawrence Avenue.
So the service people will bring the car back?
Service people
drop it
will,
off?
right, when they come and say, I'm here for my car, someone from service will bring it.
And so they continue through and go...
Right, and they pick it up on the inside, and then they drive out onto Lawrence.
And then lastly, which I think is an important safety thing to consider, is it doesn't look like there's any pedestrian walkways or anything, so I imagine if that big lot that you're putting up on the top, close to 22, that people maybe would want to walk there and look at the cars. It doesn't seem like there's any safe pedestrian crosswalks. You might want to think about providing maybe some stop signs and some crosswalks so that people can safely cross from where the customers are over to where the cars are displayed, because it doesn't look like there's any way to safely get across.
Yeah, I have no objection to working with Mike Disco and coming up with it looks like probably there would be a way to add a pedestrian crosswalk, stripe it in, there are a lot of stop signs and stuff over there, but maybe a pedestrian walk so that there'd be a way to get over and you feel like it's a safer way, right?
Would know where to go across to get to where the car...
If they're gonna get over there to look at inventory and whatnot.
You just kind of walk across a road there.
Right,
So that's just a suggestion.
yeah.
To expand on what you were saying, maybe put some signage up, pedestrian walkway or watch out for pedestrians, or something like that to make who's ever driving there aware that there's a crosswalk there where people will be walking there, to just added safety.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with getting together with Mike afterwards and talking about what that would be.
Question for, what was the idea behind bringing that service traffic up in front to where typically your sales traffic would be? Now you're going to have coming to the front your service traffic in an area which is typically busy anyway with your sales activity.
Most car obviously, he could come back up and testify as the owner, but most car dealerships have all that functionality integral to one building. So it's very common and normal for, yes, you have your sales service part, everything's all in one place. And so that's kind of what I think the industry is probably moving in that direction of creating that consistent condition where everybody's, maybe it's, while people are, I would suppose maybe if I was being a salesperson that you'd be servicing your vehicle and you'd want people to be able to be close to the sales, maybe. So it creates the opportunity for that, I suppose, but I just think it's probably one of the things that the brands they want the whole thing integral into one building. It's sort of one of the brand goals, but I don't have a full answer.
But bringing that traffic in front of their sales center kind of just doesn't make much sense to me.
I mean,
You're bringing added traffic in front of what would be continued, like we were saying before, with pedestrian traffic looking at cars, and they're basically coming right through the middle of what you would say cars would be on display, and there would be a lot of pedestrian traffic. And
Maybe we can quantify the number of anticipated service visitors.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because right now our service business has decreased, you know, at one time we were doing, customer pay repair orders, maybe, 3,000 repair orders a month, which, after COVID, we're down to somewhere around 1,500 or so. This whole idea and facility, I mean, it's the new way of all the auto dealerships are going to, as far as creating more traffic. If I may just go back to one of the questions you asked, where the customer is going to pick up their vehicles from. Everything is going to be shown, so exactly where the customer leaves their car in the morning is where they're going to pick that vehicle up, whether it be in the afternoon, the following day, whatever the case is. It's one stop. They're only going to be in that one section. Customer will never have any other reason to be down in the existing building, the way we offer it now. As far as additional traffic, will it create more, traffic coming through the main, gateway? Yes. But with that said, it's also going to alleviate the traffic that we see right now on Lawrence Road, okay? And customers having to walk from the service facility, where it is at now, to the existing sales facility, right? Because when you look at from where the one building is to where the existing, showroom is right now, it's a pretty good walk. So, you're taking them out of the element, whether it's the rain, the snow, the dampness, the cool weather, the, 100-degree heat waves, that we experience. So we're just trying to give them an experience of, they come in, they have the comfortableness of being in one showroom, one service facility. As far as how are they going to know where we're at, we do a phenomenal job with our staff of presenting everybody exactly, knowing where the service department is, knowing where the parts department is. We're going to be doing, ample training on letting people know exactly where the new facility is going to be, where they're going to be dropping their car off, because most of our business is built on repeat and referral business. We've been there since 1968. We're a pillar in the community. People know Autoland. You hear the 1-800-Autoland. People from all over the place understand and know where we're at.
That's kind of my point, because you are a very busy facility.
Right. Wish we were a little bit busier.
And that's why I'm kind
to be honest with you.
To me, I get the idea of adding a customer experience lounge per se.
Right.
But like, why wouldn't that have been part of, to me, adding that to the existing service area, extending that building to accommodate, a customer
it's
experience
not
as
an
opposed
attached
to
building.
on the side of the sales building.
Right.
Because I just don't like the idea of adding that traffic in front of what would be considered sales.
I know what you're saying there, but if you remember when we first started, where the new waiting area is going to be, that was another franchise in itself. That was a Scion dealership.
But it was a sales dealership.
Right.
Right, so you had customers coming in and parking and then looking. Here you're gonna have customers coming in, trafficking, and, evidently, possibly, some sort of backup at some point in time. Not every single time there'll be cars waiting to get, queued through service. But I just think that that's, being in front of an area where it's highly concentrated for sales, doesn't make much sense to me.
If that's the way that the dealerships are being designed at this point in time. We're on a footprint that's been there for so long. We're just trying to improve and make it a better destination for everybody.
Yeah.
I guess to Mark's point, though, like the configuration, it's towards 22, where it could possibly be pushed, even attached to the building, but pushed to the, am I calling it the rear? Towards Diamond, so that queuing doesn't occur, where pedestrians would be looking at the vehicle inventory? Is that, I think that's really for the engineer. That's a question for the engineer.
I mean, they wanted the customers to be able to drop their service off through the front, and there's one existing curb cut off of Route 22, and we aren't moving the curb cut, you know what I mean, like the way onto the property. And it's beyond where the main customer parking would be, so generally speaking, the customers, yes, some might look at inventory, some will come into the building, But, yeah, I think it's actually, it's still a good circulation pattern for what we're working with on the existing site. It's really giving us what we need. There's really plenty of stacking for it, and, yeah.
And you're showing stacking for quite a number of cars, but that's just to show that you could stack.
Yeah, just to show how many, that you have, but besides the ones that are in the building, you already have 6 right there in front, plus 10 really before the break, right? And then additional can go in that one lane that's coming off further. That'll be a mixture of customers that are going for sales and some that are coming for service, but mostly our signage directs the salespeople to come straight into the sales area parking.
But, just because there are 10 vehicles pictured there, that's not going to be the usual condition, that you've got 10 vehicles always waiting to get into that building.
Okay, so let's talk about that then. So our service by appointment?
Most of the services that come in are by appointment. We have a service BDC center that sets up the appointments. They're staggered within times. We have 9 ASMs currently right now, which they stagger their appointments. So you're never going to have a situation like that. And if I may, you're seeing 2 lanes.
Just a little closer to the mic, sorry.
You're seeing 2 lanes in there, but if I'm not mistaken, there's actually going to be room for 3 lanes.
Well, inside, the reason we bumped that out a little more is that they could actually fit a few more cars. Like, there's 3 lanes inside the building for vehicles. You probably see that on a architectural floor plan.
And we're going to have valets constantly.
We do have the
shuttling
architect here, who can talk a little too.
So at any given time for an appointment, how many vehicles would you anticipate coming into the service department?
I would say anywhere from 4 to 6 every maybe half hour or so.
And the testimony was that you could fit how many cars inside the building as they're pulling up?
I'm sorry.
How many cars can you fit inside the service area as they're pulling in?
Inside that service drive it's 8, right, Roberto? It's
In the building.
in the building.
In the building?
The building.
Because there's 3 in each lane and 2 on that lane to the right. Yeah. 9. The other point to keep in mind is that most of the service are dropped off early in the morning before sales opens. I don't know, you could tell me if that's the truth. Yeah. So there's not really that overlap of the people queuing so much. They're there earlier in the morning, dropping off their cars, and then
Service begins at what time?
Service begins at 7:30. Sales opens up at 10 o'clock, but you'll have customers that are coming in on the sales end of it, but most of your business and sales is done mid-afternoon until, to nighttime, as opposed to service where it's, mostly in the morning. They want to drop their vehicles off prior to going to work or whatever the case is, and then,
service workers stop working at 5 or 6.
5 o'clock.
Yeah, and sales goes till 10 or something, 9. What?
So you're saying that there's 2 lanes going in, but you can fit 3 across once you get inside.
that's correct.
I don't have any problem with it. My biggest concern was going back to, that road there, the way it separates the parking for the customers and where the cars are on display. I think you just really need to think about how to make that safer.
Right,
Yeah, I think a pedestrian walk right there would be really good, like cutting diagonally across there, and it just creates a way with
And out towards the front, maybe another way. Cool.
maybe another one.
Yeah, because, there's a lot of cars along Route 22 that people may want to,
Right.
people are coming off 22 there, and, I could see that being a problem.
Yeah. Also, I've looked at the lighting plan. The lighting at the front property line, it's never really exceeding 7 foot candles. That's not very intense. And so, my opinion is that it's not going to be a nuisance to adjacencies. Sorry.
Any other questions from the board?
I just have one. The oversized new structure, 19 feet, it's 22 feet. Where is that sign?
Oh, the sign, yeah, okay, so
I think it was 29.
29, yeah.
Right.
It exceeds the 22. So
And this opens up.
in the, see what's, in the set, signage plan sheet 9. I guess, so, yeah, it's from this, the driveway entrance off of Route 22, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 parking spaces and then a striped out spot for a sign. That's the existing. Go to the next, maybe there's the other signage plan. Yeah, if you zoomed in near Route 22.
I guess because they're taking the shot inside.
Yeah, so if you zoom in a little further, there's those 10 spaces adjacent to, and it kind of pulls out and shows that sign.
So it's all the way out on 20.
It's in a parking space. It's in next to the parking space. So that, if you, yeah, to the left a little, or, yeah, slide it a little further to the left. See that AB? The AB is pulling up to say sign 16, see Patterson Sign Group detail, and then it's side A, side B. That's the tall one. It might not look so big on this exhibit, but that's the tall one. And then there's a small one, which is sign 1, which is sales entrance, and it's pointing to the right. So like anyone coming up 22 would see a sign that kind of says, hey, we come in here now. And if you were to go to the existing exhibit, you could see like the signs that look like they're from like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory movie. They're like really old and they're gonna be going away.
But at that height, does that block anything else? The view of any other signs? Since it's so high?
Say that again?
Does it block anything else?
No, it's not blocking any visibility. It's just tall, but it's in the parking lot. Did you want to go to the other existing one again real quick? You could just see the, no, the sign one. They're trying to create a consistency of their directional signs. So like whereas the old, yeah, if you zoom in, up by the road, you can see pictures of the signs. Like that sales entrance one, that's one that's going away and being replaced with a brand type of sign. And then there's another sales entrance like that one. They're going away. There's going to be more consistent signage related to the Toyota side. So that, it's just an improvement of like a mishmash of types of signs, and it's going to pop like that. So these are all just old rectangular signs. For what it's worth.
Any further questions? Okay. Mike?
Okay. I'll quickly go through my memo. I believe he touched on really everything. And in the grand scheme of a site plan, this is a reduction in lot coverage. So from a municipal level, really no concern. He talked about the fence, so it's a replacement fence along Lawrence, much more decorative. You can grant that relief if you wish. We have multiple car dealerships in Springfield. We've listened, or not necessarily this board, but the other board, 3 applications for Nissan. We've had 2 for Performance Mazda. We've had Tesla twice, and now Autoland was here before this board a couple of years ago, and now again. So we have a lot of experience with the EV and thankful for the additional ADA closer to this facility, so he can service somebody who has those needs. Going through the report, I think if Jen could just bring up the proposed photograph schematic, which shows the parking lot. One thing the board could consider, I think Mr. Tyner touched on it a little bit, but that's existing, if you can get to the proposed. Yeah, that one works. So you'll see a lot of those islands are striped, as opposed to a green island. And even on the broad colorized version, you don't see a lot of green there. So I think he touched on it, that they don't like to do greenery in those islands for whatever reason. Certainly, there's a lot of striping, cross-hatching for aisles. My fear is that other vehicles are gonna appear in those striped aisles. We see the other dealerships, quite frankly, as inventory comes in, and certainly maybe not now, post-COVID at this point, but we've had times where the inventory, they just find any place they can put them. So every time there's an opportunity that's a striped island like that, a car could appear there. So the board can weigh whether it's appropriate to ask for more landscaping there, and if there's a justifiable reason to not, great, but I think you should just consider that. The lighting, the dawn to dusk, seems very routine for the car dealerships in Springfield. They all ask for that. They want brightness there so that car theft is not going to happen. You have no residential nearby. Park Place is probably the closest, and it's very, very far away. I'll defer to Michael on the signs. They addressed the DOT. I'll defer on the finish of the materials on the exterior of the building. For everybody's edification, Diamond and Lawrence were included in a DOT grant application. We should know that right before election time this year. And so one thing I did discuss, if there's a sewer connection that's going to happen, we want that before we pave the roads and have it shoot up. So that could be a condition of any affirmative vote. There's ample fire circulation. They've shown templates for that. They have no expectation on the sanitary sewer. In terms of the drainage, like I said, there's no municipal concern. They did issue a revised or an expanded report. I do believe there are a couple of NJDEP things that are in conflict with that, but it's no expectation that it would be problematic for the site. And so I would suggest, if you're looking at an affirmative, just make sure the drainage for DEP is subject to a further, conditional review to that. Other than that, I'm here to answer any questions and support.
May I? Was the fire department consulted with respect to the reconfiguration of the parking lot to make sure that their vehicles could get in and out of it, should they need to?
On every application, the fire and police are consulted. Sometimes they don't offer grandiose comments. The truck turning radiuses are shared with the design people, and they have in the plan set, they have a maneuvering plan.
So the answer is yes?
The answer is yes.
And they have no problem?
Right. And that may be justification for not having islands that are green with curb, but they have the ability to maneuver through the site. If you think about it, it's already a paved area there. The site is huge, as 19 acres and developed fully, pretty much. You got a 7,000 square foot addition on 19,000.
I'm referencing by comparison the self-storage area up near Victory Road where they were consulted after the fact.
Yeah.
And had problems once the issue was raised. So I'm just looking to be sure.
Yes. That building, as you recall, where they did the drive around,
Yeah.
yeah, the building mass was such that they basically matched all minimum setbacks there and just had a 10-foot area around the site for that. When they included bollards on some of those exit doors, it became problematic. They did make a revision, I think they came back to the board.
Yeah, they did. I'm only asking, as I said, because it wasn't part of the original.
Trying to get ahead of it, sure.
Thank you.
I basically have three comments. I just want to, first
I don't think you're on. Yes.
Thank you. I have three comments. The first one just summarizes or supports what Mike Disco said. I think there are significant opportunities to change some of the striped pavement into greenery. The amount of impervious coverage on the property versus what is permitted is significantly over. There's a modest, very, very minor reduction. I think this is an opportunity without losing any parking spaces, and I'm only talking around for the most part, the perimeter of the parking lot, so it doesn't even interfere too much with the interior operations, although there are large areas inside also that could turn into green, without impacting the circulation and the entire business operations. None of my suggestions would remove one parking space. It would just remove some of the vast areas that are striped. Rather than have them striped, they could turn into green, considering the magnitude of the impervious coverage variance. That's one, and I would leave that up to your design professionals to figure out the best opportunities to do that, but I do think that's something that should be explored. That's one. Number two is my comment on the signage. There's a lot of signs, and I respect that this is a very large property with multiple dealerships, a lot of street frontage, but there's still an awful lot of signage. The pylon signs, the first one that we mentioned before, there's a variance for it's permitted 22 feet in height. The variance is 29 feet 8 inches, I believe. I haven't heard a justification why we need to go 7 feet 8 inches higher than what is allowed in the ordinance. And that sign that is proposed at 29 feet 8 inches, I think is a couple hundred feet or 150 to 200 feet away from another pylon sign that is to remain, both being Toyota pylon signs. So, and there's four, I don't know how many signs are telling us that there's an entrance for sales, but there's an awful lot of signage. I guess where I'm going with this is they know their business operations better than I do. Are there opportunities to either reduce the signage, or why do we have to go to 29 feet 8 inches on the second pylon sign that says Toyota? I think it's certified cars right by the entrance. And then my third comment was, again, Mike kicked it to me, and my comment on building elevations are all three sides, I should say, because there's not a fourth side, but all three sides of the building elevation designed to the same level of architectural design and use of building materials for the building extension. Those are essentially my comments.
Thank you.
I do have an architect here who can speak briefly if you want to bring him up. I don't know if you want to get, I don't think there's any public that aren't related to this application.
The intent was, though, as I understand it, just for the record, is that all three sides are going to have that same finish as would be on the front. Speaking as the engineer to the sign, I mean, I definitely would like to hear from the planner about the justification of the height, but I don't know, there's other signs definitely on Route 22 that are tall, and I understand it's not compliant with the relief here, but this is the sign that the brand is asking for, so the dealer themselves then try to meet the brand's requests when they, come in for an application, and that's, so as to not be penalized by the brand. So they, that's what we're trying to, that's what we're putting on the site, or that's what we're proposing. I don't have a strong engineering opinion as to why we couldn't look for a smaller sign if, but that wouldn't, I don't think be what the hope would be, but I don't make that decision as to whether or not, if the board felt strongly about it, as the planner does. That's a conversation that I think we're open to having if you feel strongly about it. And I feel the same way about the green spaces on the islands. Some of them, I could see adding some green space and curbing them in if the board feels really strongly about it. I really wouldn't want to do that with all of them. Maybe some of the ones closer to the customer sales interface in the front parking lot would make a little more sense, because it's a good point, like maybe that creates an environment for the public that's a little nicer on the property, but, for the most part, from an engineering perspective and a practical maintenance perspective, it's an inconvenience, so we'd like some relief from that if possible. But if the board feels strongly about it, I think the applicant's gonna want to hear from you about that.
Okay.
To just emphasize the point of the planner, now that I'm looking at the drawing, that side, I guess it would be going into the building, the side that's at an angle to 22, is a long blank wall, so I think that maybe something could be done there to dress it up, because that is going to be very visible from Route 22. Something to think about.
That on the front.
Yeah, I think you're saying that basically sort of along Striped Island, next to a wall that you have.
From the front, it would be the right side.
That's a solid wall on the left, you're talking about the left-hand wall, right?
Right, that wall is a long, really long wall, and it is going to be visible from 22. So maybe you could do something to make that a little more interesting.
Then let me have.
Before you go, I just have to ask this, are there any members of the public who have any questions for the engineer? None, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give your business address.
My name is Roberto Martinez, Martinez, Redcom Design and Construction, Westville.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, would you briefly tell the board about your education, your professional experience, and licensing?
Sure. I went to school abroad in Latin America and got my degree at NJIT, and I've been practicing architecture for the past 20 years, registered for the last 12 years in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut.
And have you had occasion to testify before planning boards and boards of adjustment?
Yes.
Can you tell the board a few of the other boards you've appeared before?
Somerville, Bridgewater, Denville, Randolph.
And is your license in good standing?
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, I offer Mr. Martinez as an architect.
Thank you. Any board members have any objections to qualifying Mr. Martinez as an expert in architecture? None, you may proceed.
So what was the question?
You
Well-
brought an exhibit?
Yes.
This is going to be A2.
Correct.
for the record, what's the date?
It is 12/1/2022 is when it was created, and then
And does it have a sheet number or a title, something, just so we can,
sheet A6.
A6
A6A.
of architectural drawings? Thank you.
Okay, now,
So my question was the 85-foot-long wall on the right side, it looks like a big blank wall.
I agree.
Is there something you could do to
Yes.
make it a little more interesting?
The wall is broken into two, up to 4 feet, we're gonna have a split face block, which has a texture. And then from there on, we're gonna do drive it, which is what you see everywhere. But I agree with you, I think we should put, and I told this to the client that I was gonna include it, to put some windows there to get also natural light into the long drive. I mean, we're gonna have 9 cars there at a point, and I think it needs some natural light, so I agree with you.
Maybe even wrap the frieze down on that side?
Maybe, yes. I'm gonna sit down with him, but at least we're gonna punch out windows, and if he likes, maybe we can do similar to what we have here, which is an elongated glazing, which will play with the rest of the building.
I think that would be a good thing to do, because that is facing 22.
Yeah, it's just when I started developing the plan and I saw it, but it's gonna happen.
That was a good point.
Thank you. Can you speak to the roof? Are there going to be any rooftop equipment that needs to be screened, or should there be a parapet or anything on the edge of the roof line?
No, because most of the addition is for the cars. So there, all we're gonna have is heating and some big fans to move the air. The customer area is gonna be in the existing building, which already has all the HVAC. We're just gonna rework the HVAC and use the system.
So just to clarify, are they agreeing to enhance the building elevation and provide a color rendering of it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Martinez? Any members of the public have any questions for Mr. Martinez? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, just, so the record is complete, you submit copies of the A2 if it's not already in the,
yeah, we'll
in the
submit
record.
a copy of Exhibit A2.
Thank you.
Okay. And next witness is our planner, John McDonough.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your full name, spell your last name, give us your business address.
Sure. Hi there, everyone. My name is John McDonough. That's spelled MC, capital DONOUGH. My office is over in Parsippany, 101 Gibraltar Drive.
Thank you.
Okay. McDonough, could you first tell the board a little bit about your education and professional experience?
Sure, I'm a Rutgers guy. I am a licensed professional planner here in the state of New Jersey. That license is current. It's in good standing. I get to do this throughout the state on a nightly basis, including here in the past. And I'm also a member of the AICP, which is a national certification. Both are current and in good standing.
Thank you. Any members have any objections to qualifying Mr. McDonough? None. You may proceed.
I'm sure you do this better than I do.
What I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is just hand out some exhibits. I think this is one of those applications where the site is going to speak for itself. There you go. For the record, we want to identify this as a single exhibit with multiple pages.
3. please describe what's depicted on this
Sure,
exhibit?
so A3 is going to be a series of 5 photographs of the subject property. They were taken back in August, about a month or so ago, but they're a fair and accurate representation of the site as it presently exists. It was just out there yesterday, and it's reasonably the same as you see here in these photographs. The key points are as follows. Number one, we're dealing with an exceptionally large piece of property, as you just heard from Josh's testimony. We're almost 20 acres here. It's a site that has a long-standing association and identity with auto dealership, and particularly this brand, the Autoland brand. This site has been here since at least the 1970s. I think I actually heard 1960s this evening. So it's been a long part of your community. The essence of the application is to take this developed site, make modifications to make it better. It is certainly supposed to be an interactive process. We've heard some good comments or concerns from some of the board members about that interaction between pedestrian safety, the crossover between the maintenance access and the inventory area or the sales area. And I think there are reasonable modifications or conditions that we can put on this application to ensure that that does not become a safety concern. Again, it's a single tax lot, block 3703, lot number 1. It's along the Route 22 corridor, which we know is lined with commercial uses, and all of your surrounding uses are non-residential. You've got office, you've got retail, you've got industrial, and the clear evidence of these photographs is that you do have a site that has excellent spatial capacity to accommodate both inventory, storage, sales display, customer parking, and service vehicle parking as well. And this is going to be an improvement for the customers that are already coming here. It is going to enable customers to stay within the primary building, within the primary customer building, and away from the utility building, which is in the back, which serves no practical purpose, putting your customers in the back of the site when there's an opportunity to give them weather protection, connection to the main sales area as well. There certainly is a synergy between having customers in your sales building, even if they're associated with the service component, part of the natural progression of auto vehicle ownership. So we have a substantially paved over site. What you see here is substantially what you're going to get, keeping that main L-shaped building in the front. And as we go through the photographs, you'll see there is a clear hierarchy in the facade of the building where customers know you come in this door. It's not going to create confusion that you now have a service entrance over here. There will be signage to show that secondary access point for service customers. But I don't see this as creating confusion for pedestrians with crosswalks and perhaps putting those safety cones that you see that warns vehicles to slow down for pedestrians crossing in a crosswalk. I think it's a nice traffic calming condition that the board can impose on this application to ensure safety. One of the nice things about this application is that we're going to get clear parking definition and better site organization than you see out there now. I thought when you went back and looked at Josh's last exhibit, the one that shows the color coordination, customer parking is going to be over here, vehicle display is going to be over there, and then, of course, the inventory access as well. This is really a wing off of the main building. It's not going to be a separate outbuilding, and is an excellent complement to that which is already there. It's called a drive-through, but it's not a drive-through in the sense of a Jiffy Lube. It's more of a porte-cochere. You pull in, you've got weather protection, you leave your car, and then you go inside. This is not an area where service is going to take place per se. Again, it's not a Jiffy Lube, it's not a car wash where you're going to have the stacking of vehicles waiting to be serviced. You get out, you go in, you may take a loaner car and go off-site, but it's not something where we're looking to keep people in their cars on the property. First page, again, is a view of the property looking to the southeast. You see the service building all the way to the right. You see the main building in the center. We don't want to keep our customer base separate. We want to pull them together, and that's exactly what this application does here. You've got a view looking on page 2 to the east with Route 22 off to the left, Lawrence in the foreground. You heard through Josh's testimony, we're going to punch out another curb cut, another access point to facilitate circulation off of the site. We have some nice clean letters here from the County Planning Board, from the NJDOT, and from the County Soil Conservation District. No problems with the plan that's proposed before you. Third page is a view from the opposite of what you just saw, looking to the west. And again, you get a sense of the excellent spatial capacity to accommodate the development that's before the board. What's nice is most of the inventory parking will be able to be kept in the back, behind the building. So the building is going to be the primary focal point, and that's familiar in the public eye. And that becomes evident in frame number 4, where we're looking at the building, and you have the clear demarcation of the building entryway, which is going to say, and then this service enhancement or the service amenity off to the right there. And then finally, the last page shows just how remote that service area is. We don't want to be sending our customers way over there, so if we can keep them in the core building, that's a good thing from a planning standpoint. In terms of the relief, again, Mr. Disco and Mr. Mistretta has given the board a good roadmap here and things to think about in terms of the relief the applicant is seeking, and things you should think about in terms of the criteria for that relief. We happen to be split zoned here. We're HC in the front, where the sales and service use is a permitted conditional use. You heard Josh say that all of the conditional use standards are met. So we're not asking for relief for the front portion per se from a use standpoint. We are looking for relief for the back half of the site or the back portion, similar to what we were here for in 2020, in that that's your industrial zone, your I-40 zone, where you can have a lot of more intense uses than what the applicant is proposing here on an industrial scale. What's nice about this application, it keeps what's there, what's been there now for 50, 60 years or so. It takes what's there and makes it better. But it does need relief. It needs use relief, as your two professionals have pointed out. Again, because auto sales and service is not a permitted use in the zone district. In terms of the justification for that use relief, we're going to walk you through the parts of the Medici test. First, site suitability. This site is particularly suitable for the use by virtue of its context. We're in a non-residential area. I think it's clear here that there's going to be no impact on any residential uses, and this will be an enhancement to an established business with a long-standing commitment to the community. Also, in terms of site suitability, again, this site is ideally suited for the use that's before you because there's been a long-standing association and identity with this exact use that's here now. Special reasons, we see multiple purposes of zoning being advanced here, including Purpose A, the promotion of the general welfare, again, with an enhanced customer service area that's going to be more convenient, providing for weather protection for the customer base that's already here. Better overall site organization and parking definition, and then again, establishing and enhancing an established business with a long-standing commitment to the community, all goes towards the promotion of the general welfare. That's Purpose A under the land use law. We also see Purpose M, or planning goal for efficient use of land. Taking what's there, repurposing it is spot on with that planning purpose. And then I think we can say Purpose I, the promotion of a desirable visual environment. You have a nice aesthetic there now. It's keeping what's there. It's going to put a nice complementary wing on the building. And again, a nice long mass along the front of the site, I think helps break up the parking mass that's presently there. In terms of the public impacts, it's supposed to be an interactive process. I think there's been a good back and forth between the board and the professionals. I thought the mitigative measure of a crosswalk or multiple crosswalks is a good solution to get those customers from their parking area over to the sales area or the display area. And then again, those little cones that you see could also help traffic calm vehicles as they come in on the service access way. The flow, the function, the organization has been addressed operationally, architecturally, and site-wise as well. We're not dealing with any steep slopes here. We're not dealing with any major earthwork here. We're not dealing with any substantial land clearing here as well. So no substantially adverse impacts related to what the applicant is doing here. Lastly, with respect to the impact on the zone plan, went back and looked at your master plan reexamination reports. Looks like you have a brand new one coming online soon as well. Again, with that, we see that economic development is certainly one of the tenets of all master plans, including your own, promoting business, business attraction, and of course, business retention being just as important. This is a major employment generator here in the community and also provides an important public service. We think this is spot on with that goal for economic development and a stable, rateable base. And as I keep saying, it's going to enhance and establish business with a longstanding commitment to the community. All of the other relief, I think, ties in or can be subsumed within those use benefits that I just gave you. I'm not going to go through all of the relief that Josh gave you on a practical standpoint. I think you can bundle them all together as necessary to effectuate a good project. Probably the lingering question is that extra sign there at 29 feet, where 22 is the maximum that's allowed. If you look at my exhibit, you'll see two other signs along the front of the property, along the other access points. One is about 32 feet, another is about 40 feet. If I read the survey, this is actually going to be smaller than those two other signs that are on the property presently, so they're not going to overpower or dominate the signs that are already there and will actually integrate well. It's a site that has extraordinary frontage, extraordinary highway frontage. We do think breaking it up with some signage is a good thing from a planning standpoint for clear and safe site identifications. All things said, I think this is an application where the positives substantially outweigh any of the negatives. I think the board can move favorably on the application based on the testimony before you. Most importantly, the statutory criteria for the relief are met and approval is warranted. And with that, I'll pause and go to any redirect or cross.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? None. Okay. Mike Disco.
McDonough, these are all taken August 20th, I presume?
They were, yes.
Were you at the site in more than one day or over a longer period of time?
I was. This is an applicant that likes to meet face to face.
I was struck actually by the lack of cars on the site in terms of the vast size. So are there opportunities to remove pavement and green anywhere on the site? It doesn't have to be greening in a sense of elaborate landscaping in some areas, but looking at these aerials, it looks like there's a lot of unused pavement.
I think I did hear a stipulation to work with your professional on taking some of those striped areas and converting them to landscaping. So I think that's something, again, as part of an interactive process. I'm happy to walk the site or meet with your professional.
But as far as major removal of pavement, you know, we're still dealing with the loss of inventory from COVID, and they're continuing to want to have more cars here.
Right, I don't think the applicant, but that statement is not meant to state that we'll lose parking spaces, but we'll convert striped areas where we can to landscaping or to green space.
And was there a variance for the number of ground signs?
I believe there were, there's a variance for that extra freestanding sign. You now have 7, so that's for the additional sign. I'm sorry, 6, where 5 is the maximum that's allowed. And related to that, there was area and height relief. I have to go back and check exactly the number of permitted ground signs. You have a nice page here in Josh's package, and I'm just going to flip to it just so I can make the record here. Okay, yeah, sheet 9A shows all the ground signs that the applicant is looking to install. It's going to create a nice unified appearance. They all serve a wayfinding function. You heard Josh say an arrow points here, it points there. It gets you through an exceptionally large site, an almost 20-acre site. And what I like about all of these signs is, number one, they're nice, they're clean, they're uniform. Number two, they're just words. You only see the Toyota logo once. So this is not going to be over-branding by any stretch. It's more informational or directional in nature, but we're not splashing the brand all over the place.
Any other questions? Okay. Mike Mistrella? Mistretta, sorry.
I'll just, again, I'll support removing any pavement that we can that doesn't, A, start to remove inventory parking, doesn't start removing parking spaces or your business operations. But there's a lot of pavement on this site that can be, we can go from asphalt to green without any impact on the business operations. And I think this is an opportunity to take a hard look at that and try and further reduce the amount of impervious coverage. Be happy to work with their professionals and Mike to see what we can do. And I think there's a lot of signs on the property.
Okay. Let's just open it up to the public, or is there any member of the public has any questions for Mr. McDonough? Seeing none. Okay. Anything additional that our professionals want to add at this time before we start discussing? Good? Okay, thank you.
Did you get an answer to your question about lighting?
Yes.
Finally, yes.
Any member of the public have any comments on this application? Okay, there are none, thank you.
Madam Chairman, could I have a couple minutes to consult with my client?
Yes, you may. Let's take a 5-minute break. It's 8:33. We'll go off the record. Thank you. Thank you. All right, it's 8:39. We are back on the record. Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, of course, we note that there are only 6 board members present, given that this is a use variance requiring 5 affirmative votes. We would ask that this matter be carried to the next board's meeting. In the interim, we will take the opportunity to meet with your professionals, particularly Mr. Mistretta, whom we invite to come out to the site and walk the site with us and give us the benefit of his comments on how it can be improved. And we would be prepared to address plan revisions at the next time by testimony and perhaps exhibits. I'm not suggesting that we're going to submit another full set of plans. We are interested in any other feedback that the board members might give tonight so that we can be better prepared to come back if the board has any comments they want to offer. I'm
And you-
sure that Mr. Tyner is available, Mr. Martinez is available. John, are you available for October 15th? Are you going to need the planner's test? I mean, you talked about one.
I think that if you're looking for a full composite of the board, full composition of the board, then we would ask that all of your professional be here in case any other board members have any questions.
John, are you available? Okay. Yeah, Mr. McDonough is checking his records now. If he's not personally available, he could send another planner.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna need a motion to table or carry, I guess, to the October 15th, but you did say that you wanted some additional feedback.
If the board
from the
members
board.
wish to offer any feedback so that we can take that into account.
Yes. I believe one would be, as you said, working with Mr. Mistretta to look at more green space on the site. And I do agree that maybe revisit the signage, particularly the monument signs, the height, and the amount of overall signage on the property. But I don't speak for all board members, so if there's anything else, please, feel free to chime in now.
I think I said what I was going to say further.
I just have one observation. It was brought up earlier that were not a lot of cars on the property. Inventory is sort of on the low side. Do you expect that to increase significantly?
Yes.
Where you're gonna need the parking spaces that are all there?
Yes, the manufacturers are still just not producing the number of cars that the dealerships can sell. And they are looking for that to gradually improve.
In the past, have those inventory spots been all filled up in the past before COVID?
I can have, yeah.
There were times where we've had, upwards of 2,500 cars on the lot right now currently on our Toyota side. As of today, we had 41 new cars in inventory. And it's just, again, Toyota just can't produce the cars, fast enough for us. So, we're hoping that we can get back where we used to have, let's call it a 90-day supply. Right now, we're sub 15-day supply of our inventory. And, we're learning different ways of doing business and trying to service our customer base as best as we can. But, it's tough, running with the inventories that we're running with right now. That's why you see so much of, the space that we have. We don't expect it to stay that way. We're hoping it doesn't, but, we've been doing this now for 4.5 years, basically, of that, and it's always, it's coming, and, we're still waiting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, the only other thing I would add was just a pedestrian plan, as far as from.
Pedestrian, yes.
Yeah.
pedestrian walkways.
Anything else you want to add? Okay. With that, is there a motion to carry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Wexstein?
Yes.
Mr. Schuetz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Coe?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so that, Bruce?
Thank you, Chair. Just for the public, if there's any member of the public present, this matter is being carried to the October 15, 2024 meeting. There will be no further public notice as it is being adjourned here on the record. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Aye, have a good evening. Thank you, everyone.